And I want to show you, John, President Obama, his wife Michelle, former President Bush, and his wife Laura are now at the site here. You're looking at live pictures. You are seeing them as we are seeing them as they are walking around the memorial grounds and walking by these extraordinary reflecting pools. Really hard to get a sense of the scale of the moments from the television images, but they are truly enormous, 200 feet on each side approximately. As they pause to reflect, let's watch.
Assuming, Anderson, that what we're looking at are the two, one former president, the current president, greeting some of the family members that have been involved, and a lot of them have been in putting not just this day, but this site back together again, striking that balance that we talked about earlier.
I believe that's Lee Ielpi, the father of one of the firefighters lost here at Ground Zero. He's been a regular presence here over the years. He was a former firefighter himself. He was able to stay and actually work on the site, on the pile, as it was called then, searching for the remains of his son. And he was there when his son was found as well.
Yeah, some of these faces are familiar now as we see them go down the line. Behind them, by the way, the politicians, I think we saw quickly as we went by, which is it's a day for politicians to kind of be in the background. Obviously, these two presidents, I was thinking of the Shanksville dedication yesterday. They had the first day at that memorial where they talked, where Vice President Biden and President Clinton, I believe, both talked about President Obama and President Bush, two very different men dealing with the very same problem, and thanked them both for, quote, keeping the nation safe since 9/11. There you see the president with Chris Christie, the governor of New Jersey. He was not the governor of New Jersey when 9/11 happened, but an enormous number of New Jersey residents died in these Twin Tower attacks.
Former Governor George Pataki will also be here. I imagine he's down there, though we're not seeing him just yet. Their former mayor, Rudy Giuliani, who was obviously the mayor of New York at the time this happened.
Bloomberg.
You also see current mayor, Michael Bloomberg. Throughout our coverage today, I just want you to know we're going to be trying to probably talk as little as possible. The smallness of our words are quite evident compared to the greatness of this memorial, of the sounds of the water. So we want you to hear as much of the sounds and just see the sights and absorb them as you will throughout this morning. We thought that most appropriate. Also during our coverage today, you're going to notice at the bottom of your screen the names of the 2,983 people who died at the World Trade Center, at the Pentagon, and at Shanksville. And you'll also see the names of those who died in the first bombing of the World Trade Center back in 1993. Those people who died back in 1993 are also, their names are also included in this memorial, etched in stone down at the World Trade site. Because of the events the past few days, everyone has, well, a lot of questions about security, of course. On this anniversary, there are always questions about security. Security here in New York City is extraordinarily tight today. Obviously, there have been credible threats, according to the U.S. authorities, credible threats, though several days ago. They were unconfirmed. We have been covering for the last several days the extensive security preparations here in New York. We've seen a lot of traffic stopped at checkpoints, a lot of cars being checked. It's been pretty intense security really for the last 2 days. I'm not sure how it was in Washington, but we have not seen anything like that in New York for quite some time.
I was up here, so it was very intense when we left Washington. We came by train, and there were authorities everywhere. It was less in your face, I think, than when we got up here, when they started to stop trucks and cars, and 3 lanes of traffic went down to one. It was a mess in New York City.
We do want to give you a sense of what is happening right now because of the current terror threat. We do think on this day that it's important to really focus on the victims of this tragedy and not focus so much on the terrorists. And I think it's fitting in a way that if you ask many Americans, they would not be able to name any of the 19 hijackers. And I think there's something very fitting about that I don't think their names should be remembered in history. It should be the names of those whose lives were lost on this day. Susan Candiotti, let's check in with her just to get a sense of the update on the current terror threat. Susan?
Hi, Anderson. Of course, the streets around here are very quiet because of the extreme amount of security, but it's anything but quiet behind the scenes as investigators continue to work 24/7 to try to pin down the validity of this credible terror threat. I spoke with my sources not long ago, and they tell me that so far it is quiet. In their words of one official, nothing so far has panned out to indicate that any of the 3 possible suspects believed to be headed to the United States from overseas to possibly plant or carry out an attack, a car bomb, a truck bomb, or some other kind of explosive. They haven't been able to determine for sure whether anyone has entered the United States, but they continue to work under that assumption. And a few of the new details are that, in fact, at least 2 of the 3 were headed to the United States as recently as last week. Remember, they're only 4 days into this investigation, and that 2 of the 3 are not only U.S. citizens, but of Arab descent. Remember, they're trying to track down what they have called credible information from a credible source, an al-Qaeda operative, through an intercepted communication that some people were headed this way to carry out an attack. And because of that, we're seeing all that security that you have already described around the city. Back to you, Anderson.
Susan, we'll be checking in with you throughout the morning. Again, you're looking at former President Bush, former First Lady Laura Bush, alongside President Obama and Michelle Obama. There's going to be a lot to see and hear this morning. We want you to be part of it. Let us know where you were on 9/11/2001 by sending a tweet to #9/11 where I was. And let's just pause as we watch the current and former president with some family members reflecting and looking at the memorial site.
Joining the
God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, even though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though its waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with its swelling. There is a river whose stream shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her just at the break of dawn. The nations raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Come behold the works of the Lord, who has made desolations in the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariot in fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge.